Little housekeeping here. Welcome you to downstairs kitchen area of the Ponderosa Community Center. And I may put a little plug in for Andy Root's Cafe. If when you're done here, they're serving restaurant. The restaurant is serving dinner tonight too. So when you get done here, if you want to buzz over there and have dinner, we thank you for those that showed up early and had lunch. Okay, appreciate that. I'm Buck Weckman, and I kind of set this thing up for Randy. The men and women's bathrooms are right back through that hallway there. We just checked them out. The lights are on and they work. So you're welcome to use those. My wife will be coming over here shortly with the things we're moving from Andy Root's restaurant, the coffee, the hot water cups, and some snacks. Those will be right up here. Or no, we'll probably put them over there. We'll walk around the time. So anyway, I'm Buck Weckman up here in Brownsville. You're welcome right here, and this is Randy Fletcher for the town hall meeting. Now I'm going to circulate this, and if you want, he sends out a newsletter from time to time, Randy. I do. That's in the plan. So if you're interested in signing up for that, just give me your name and your email address on. And if he sends them out, he can tell you more about it periodically, then you'll get that information. So I think with that, I'll just turn it over to Randy. He's the man. This is Randy Fletcher, 5th District Supervisor. Here's the snack.
Thanks for coming out on a wet, rainy day. I had a townhouse meeting in Hallwood, and 4 people showed up. So I was expecting 6, maybe. We'd all sit around this table and talk. So I have a limited agenda. A couple of things that I wanted to touch on. I wanted to give you a feel of kind of what I've seen in the last year. And then we can do some question and answer. And then I want to move forward. So whether we take 2 hours or an hour or 3 hours, I don't care. I'm available and I'm here, and you can corner me or we can talk or whatever you want to do. So when I started this process, I didn't have a clue what I was stepping into. Al had an idea, but nobody shared that with me. I'll tell you, there's a lot of work as a new supervisor. So much that I didn't know. It's kind of like jumping in the end of a deep pool and you've never swam before. There is so much activity. There are so many meetings. There are so many connections that needed to be made. And I thought, a lot of people said, it's a part-time job. You'll be able to work yours and do the farm and do this, no problem, right? So I get to my office maybe a couple hours a week. My days are typically 6 to 7 in the morning till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. Sometimes I get home at 10, 11. I was home at 11:30 Wednesday night. There are meetings in Sacramento, in Nevada County, Butte County. It's all of this connections that come together. And again, first year, really important for me to get a pretty much grounding of myself. What is this all about? And what are the responsibilities and the opportunities for a supervisor? So, first of all, I have to apologize for not keeping close contact with the community. I've done some face page, and you do some emails, and I do personal meetings. I meet with those that want, they call me, and I do that. But I have not done one of these, as you well know. This year, I will do more if you want. Now that I've had first year of where are the connections, what can I do, and what can't I do? The supervisor understands you have one of 5. So, do I have any authority or power? None. Nothing. It comes as a group. And that's from a county level. That's how you get things done. So whether it's a board, a local water board, a fire board, any other boards, and I know a lot of you have been on boards, I recognize that. You've been there, and you understand it comes as a group, not as an individual. So, again, my role, take information, process it. What can I do? How do I feed that back? How do I make things better for you? That's really what I'm trying to accomplish. And it takes support, it takes time, it takes a lot of energy. The county is a piece of machinery. It's like you get to sit in the pilot car of the Titanic. You know, it's just ongoing. You get dropped in, you get to work, you get to throw your ideas, and then you adjust as needed. And that's kind of what we've been doing. So, some of the things that have happened over this last year that all of you are directly or indirectly involved with: water, marijuana, planning, Magnolia Ranch, Boy Scout Hall, Boy Scout 4-H. This stuff goes on, and again, I get, right as we speak, I checked my emails at the office the other day. I have 6,029 emails that I haven't opened. Now, the bulk of those are junk. And I scan it real quick and I look for names or what's the title, and I try to answer those. Through the county office, I think I only have about 400 that are still some. It's just stuff that comes in from federal government, state. You scan it, you see what they're talking about, you look at some of the highlights. Those things that pertain to Yuba County, particularly the fisheries, the forestry, the flood, those are the ones that you read and you go to the meetings. This district, the largest of the other four combined, there is more land here. I put on a little over 20,000 miles on my vehicle last year just in going to meetings in this district or just outside. And then I have my personal vehicle that I drive for personal stuff and range stuff. So when I talk about a 12-hour or a 14-hour day, understand some of that is commute time. You're driving back and forth. And you use the best of that time that you can. So I talk, text when I can. If somebody's with me, they're texting, or I use the Bluetooth. And I'll take calls, and I'll make calls as I can. As we all know, in Brownsville, poor communication. So a couple of the things, right off the bat. Go back a year and a half, what were we talking about? We need towers. We need better communication up here. Law enforcement needs it. Ambulance, fire, you do, education. How do we advance without this stuff? So, I've been at Gallagher's office, Nielsen's office, Garamendi's office, repeatedly. Those are the places I try to go. When I started the year off, I put them in my calendar every 3 months. I got to meet with these guys. And then every month, I usually saw them at a meeting so we could talk. What I found was, as we have all found, for communication purposes, let's say the towers, there's not enough people. Nobody wants to put up a tower. Met with Verizon in Gallagher's office. They said, send me a letter. Let's see if we can get some interest. I'm still waiting. I've talked to them a number of times. Still waiting. I had a very good meeting just this last week with a company in Nevada City that is now going to put in hardwire to all of Nevada County. He's been working on this thing for close to 10 years, focus the last 5 years, and most appropriately this 2015, and he actually got a grant. He's got some money, and he is focused. And he is interested in Yuba County. So, we're sending him data, and he feels that it can be on the radar for him in the next couple of years. That would be a combination of fiber optics and copper lines that are going to every house in Nevada County. They start with the high density. Their high density, North San Juan is a high density area. Guess what? That's Challenge, Brownsville, Dobbins, Oregon House. That's high density. When you get to little pockets here and there that have very few, they may be left behind another year or two. But I see this as a great opportunity coming. High speed. It will have a speed greater than the Bay Area, is what he's telling me. So stay tuned. Without that communication, we have a difficult time. You have a hard time growing. How do we get information out here? One of the other things a couple of things that were brought up last year, in District 10, we have flood issues. So I'm thinking, okay, Yuba County Water Agency, and you understand, as a Board of Supervisor, you get two hats. One is the board, and one is the Yuba County Water Agency, and they are two separate items. They're not connected by boards. They're connected by community, but we're two separate. So when I was running, it seems to me, well, why can't the Yuba County Water Agency focus on spending dollars in District 10 for the flood scenario? I don't know there's anyone here that's in a flood zone, but if you live in a flood zone, you have two issues to deal with. One is flood, and the other is insurance. You have to buy your insurance based on, if you're in a flood zone, you're paying an additional hundreds or thousands of dollars. I have a number of clients that are paying $15,000 a year for their flood insurance. So it's a big issue. What I found was Yuba County Water Agency eventually will have those funds. We've identified from the board level, there's about $400 million that needs to be spent on flood issues in Yuba County. It probably won't happen this year. They haven't actually taken control of the dam and the potential profits. There are some profits, and water and electricity, those are there, but it's going to take time. We're going to have to build a chest to keep that thing running, so it we talked about water in the foothills, New York Flat Dam. Again, Yuba County Water Agency. A little bit of history goes back, and some of you know this probably better than I do. Back in the 50s and 60s, they talked about building New York Flat Dam and New Bullard's Bar. When they actually got into the process, whatever funds were there all got diverted to New York, or to the New Bullard's Bar. And then down the line, they were supposed to look closely at New York Flat Dam. Again, all the money was consumed. And then PG&E took on the responsibility to pay off the bonds on behalf of the water agency, and that's what's been going on for 50 years. And we come out of that this year, 2016. So at this point, there's still not enough money. And of course, other things that have complicated that, environmental issues, state, regulatory, they're all issues. I don't think you let go of this. You still consider it. We'll see where it goes. It's just a process, and it all takes time. What else did we talk about back in a year and a half ago? What was the issues?
Some recreation activities in the Brownsville
And you know, before today is done, what I'm looking for is, out of this group, having a committee for the Brownsville area that's willing to have coffee once a week, once a month, whatever you'd like, to talk about where do we go and what do we do? What do we focus on? My life in the insurance industry has always been about goals. You have to have a target. You got to have a goal. How are we going to get from here to there, and what are we going to do? So I'm going to ask this group. I'm glad you're here, that you want to get involved, I hope, because I can't do it alone. I need help. I need support. I need your ideas. I need people out in the community. We all need out in the community. You have to be here to work this for a while. So before the day is gone, we'll be talking about that. One of the other things we dealt with right off this first year was our zoning issues in the foothills. When I hit the ground running at the county, they said, here's our planning, and now we're just going to package it with the zoning. And they were ready to pass it, which I really drug my feet with some support and help from a few others around here, particularly North Yuba Grown, that said, let's look at this whole issue. What's beneficial to the foothills? And over a 6-month period, North Yuba Grown and some spin-offs really spent a lot of time working with the county, with me, with the community at large, saying what's beneficial. And I think we got a lot done. Took time, a lot of energy. I need to recognize North Yuba Grown that they were instrumental in getting a lot of this done. Before I came up today,
Did they ask you? They asked me.
anybody listen to KMYC?
Oh, yeah.
So a week, 2 weeks ago, I remember, I was on the radio station, and Andy asked me to talk about what last year was. So I spent an hour. Here's what I provided. And when I got home, my wife said, don't do that again. That was put me to sleep. And so here's all my notes, and I won't go through it. But it was a month by month, issue by issue. I guess it meant something to me, but to the general public, I really don't want to bore you. But only to say, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. And you don't just fix it. You have to go through a process to get all of this stuff going. So, I will tell you, just as, again, kind of an idea. So when you get to the board, then there are the committees. These are the committees. And there's about 40 of them. And so you break that up with everybody takes some. And of course, being the new guy, I got what was left over because nobody else wanted it. But it's the community. It's stuff that's really important. And then you have to learn it. And then when you get to the water agency, there are committees. And so it's a combination of those two committees, your board meetings. Gosh, if you only had to go to board meetings, what a great job, I'll tell you. It's wonderful. Doesn't work that way. It's everything else that's attached. So, without boring you even on if you want to take a look, it's available. I also wanted to share with you something that, isn't everyone or anyone familiar with the 4-H camp in Dobbins and kind of what happened with that whole scenario?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what transpired, I was somewhat familiar with the 4-H camp, having come off the Board of Education, the Yuba County Board of Education, where the county said, we don't want it, we can't take care of it, Board of Education, you want it? And they said, oh yeah, it'd be great. And after 5, 6 years, they said, well, we don't want it, we can't take care of it. What do we do with it? So we turned it back over to the county. County turned it over to Lake Francis. Lake Francis then said, geez, there's more here than we want to take on. And about that same time is when the Boy Scouts of America came to us and said, we have real interest in it. And as a result, and I'll pass this around, I'd like to have this back, but let me pass it around. This is what they're proposing. They now own this piece of property. It was with the understanding in a contract that said it's still available to Yuba County and can be used. What they really wanted it for was the fall, the winter, and the spring. They don't want it in the summertime. They have camps at high elevations. But somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 to 15,000 Boy Scouts will be going through this camp over the next 5 years, each year, that number. What does that do for Yuba County? Well, it's not a good tax base, but it's a great opportunity for those businesses that want to interact with Boy Scouts. So as we progress down this line, whether you have food products, entertainment, support services, think about what your interest is with the Boy Scouts in training, education, services. It's out there. And I'll continue to bring this up over the next 3 years. This is what's happening. This is what they've done. They're going to actually be looking for contractors. They're going to try to use everyone local and anyone and everyone local that they can. So I've got contact names if you need them. Or call the county and talk with Doug McCoy. He'll leave you this information. So let's kind of open this and see. Kim has agreed to take some notes for me. Thank you. I love volunteers. Let's see what your interests are. But before the end of this day, again, I am very interested in having a coffee club that could spin into a miniature chamber of commerce. What do you see, and what do you want, and how can I help? Understanding, just one guy. I can bring things to the table. I have no more money than anyone else. I'm constantly looking for dollars. It's dialing for dollars to help the sheriff's department, the fire department, the water department, wherever I can find grants. I can tell you that Gallagher and I are pretty close now of all the meetings we've had. Jim Nielsen, I brought Jim Nielsen up for a tour. Never been here, so I brought him out and about. I've taken others to the UC Field Station for tours, Camptonville, of course Bullard's Bar. We continue to grab people from Sacramento that are actually passing laws that have never been in the country. They don't really understand the timber, the forest, the fire, the floods, the cattle, the farming. They just don't know. As far as they know, food comes from the store, water from the tap. It's all they need to know. But the reality is they need to get out here and actually see it. And it's been instrumental in a couple of things that have happened. But it's really interesting and worthwhile. And if any of you have an interest in doing that, let me know. I'll bring them. And we'll do coffees. Just educational information. They remember, you put them on a boat on Bullard's Bar, they have a different impact of how water and recreation works. So, let me ask questions. Who's got a question?
I have a question. My question is, I have several questions, but I'm only going to do one right now. Okay?
Fair enough.
I want to know why you felt it necessary to recuse yourself from the Magnolia Ranch vote and, at the same time, not recognize the undue influence that you have over the rest of the Board of Supervisors and didn't pass that immediately on to the voters of Yuba County. Instead of trying to make a decision where obviously other members of the board have received financial money from the developers, how all of you can think that you can make a fair and objective decision considering how many tentacles you have wrapped around you to produce for people that have given you money. So if you can answer that question, then we'll move on to another.
Oh, that's fine. Well, let me,
I have all afternoon.
let's just focus on the one, because I can't speak for the rest of the board.
That's correct.
What I can speak for, why did I recuse myself? The first month that I was on the board, one of the very first items that came in front of us was the flood regulations in Utah County. As most of you know, I'm an insurance broker. The county council came to me and said, you can't vote on this, you have to recuse yourself because you're an insurance broker. And I said, wait a minute, this is a nothing. I don't get direct income through this vote. No matter how I voted, I don't get it direct. And they said, yes you do. You write a policy, you're licensed, and it goes through this process, and you're voting on this process. And so I said, well, let's get a third opinion, and let's go to the FPBC, which we did. And they said, yes, you are, and no, you can't. So you're recused. I personally disagree with it. But it was pretty well laid out. They reviewed it and said you can't. So I didn't vote. Along came Magnolia. I have 4 clients that surround Magnolia that have paid me for insurance for the last 30 years. And as a result of that, county council said, whether they have an influence or not, if the public perceives there's an influence, then you have to recuse yourself. And that's where it left me. What else do I do?
Well, the public also perceives that you have an undue influence over the rest of the board, whether you do or not. The perception is there. I don't get to talk to the board in private on an individual basis, not to mention that the board doesn't want to harm me if I'm a member of the board, okay? And you're a member of the board, and they realize that if they were to rule against any of your interests, they would be harming you. If they were to rule against any of your clients, they'd downstream be harming you. And all I'm asking is how you can make that separation. And guarantee that it's absolutely objective.
I don't know that I can answer that question.
Well, then you should have passed it on to the voters.
I can't pass that on while I'm recused.
You can convince the other board members to pass that on.
You heard of the Brown Act?
You can use the Brown Act any way you want.
I don't want to
Or
use
the
the
voters
Brown
are
Act.
against it.
Let me tell you, I think the Brown Act is awful. But the reality is, I mean, that's the first thing they tell you. The first, I guess it was, I don't remember the date, maybe it was the end of January, 1st of February. As a new supervisor, you go to new supervisor school. And that's one of the first things they talk about. The Brown Act, you understand, you can't do these things. And you can't talk, you can talk to one person. So pick who you want to talk to, and that's it. Everything else, if you want to talk about it, is done on the diocese while you're discussing this. So the influence that is perceived to be there is not there. I don't talk to the other board members, not about those issues. You talk about when you go into closed session, if somebody's suing you, yes, you talk about, because you can't talk about it out front, but they allow you to talk about it there. You talk about, you know, the weather and their family, but you don't talk about those issues. In my opinion, I wish we could. I'll tell you, I'd do it in a heartbeat. But you can't. I don't know how you get anything done. When I got into there, I'm thinking, how do you get something done? I'm used to coming to the table and say, let's work this out. Let's just get it resolved, whatever it is, whatever issue. You have your opinion, I have my opinion. We discuss our opinions. We come to a consensus. I don't like your idea, you don't like mine, what about you guys? And we take a sort of a vote. And then you give a little, I give a little. We walk away and say, I'm not happy with what I did, but I'm happy it's done. And now we're done, and we move on. Isn't that how? Are you married?
Keyword was.
That might be best left alone.
Well, I have my 40th this year, and how do you get it done? Well, we get it
Spend
done.
20 years away from it.
It's what you do. It's just the way it works, and you make the best of it, and you forget about it, and you make decisions. You move forward. Yes.
I just want to comment that the county council is unelected. The FPPC, whatever that is, these are agency people. They're not God. They make mistakes. They get sued. He's elected. He needs to speak your voice, whatever that voice may be, wherever he can speak it. And this county is a turning point, governmentally. So people need to speak to him, encourage him to throw his voice wherever he can throw it. And give him the confidence to do that. At least he went for a second opinion. I'd have gone for a third. But it takes courage to face these bureaucrats who have lifelong careers and pensions, and your personal needs up in 5th District are not top of their priorities. So get used to coming forward with whatever tools you have to get his voice known. You can go on the radio, you can go before these committees and meetings. Otherwise, they'll just shut him down. It takes 3 votes.
Because you do have a lot of words to say sometimes. How then can you go to the county council or whomever would need to let our representative represent all of us? Because if you mentioned 2 things today that you couldn't say anything about. Because, okay, so it seems like there ought to be an avenue to go to where you can go to them and say, I need to represent all of my people. I mean, does that make sense, or am I making sense?
Well, I think where that comes from, you still have 4 representatives.
But you're our representative. They have different interests.
They do, however. One of the first questions that came running for this position, are you a district supervisor or a county supervisor? And the answer is, you represent this district, but you're really a county supervisor. You are there to think on behalf of the county. Your input comes from your district. Is it possible that the county vote is better represented by another district rather than your district? And within your district, also understand, there are 14,400 people. Tell me that 14,400 are on the same page. Please help me. What I've found is not the case. It's more of about 7,200 to 7,200. It seems to be, it's about like this. So even when I was elected, it's a 60-40 vote. Well, that's 40% didn't want to see me here. Okay, on any issue, if I ask you, do you like a white car or a black car? What am I going to get? I'm going to get a different. There is no 100% even in the district, and particularly this district, because we have so many different issues. You've got the floods in the valley, the fire in the hills, you have the Brownsville in this area, you have Camptonville, Smartsville, Dobbins, Oregon House, Loma Rica, Browns Valley, and they all have different issues and different ones. This is a challenge district. Plus, Linda. I also have Linda in that part. To get the numbers to match with the rest of the county, they had to take in part of Linda just to have enough numbers.
I have a question that follows along with the gentleman in the hat.
Yes.
The area of District 10 is the backbone of the county's agricultural economy, which I have a piece of paper saying that it was $2.34 million for Yuba County, the agricultural part, and that the residents and the businesses pay an exorbitant amount for flood insurance. And the levee failure would cause millions in crop losses to this county and the infrastructure. Yet on that program that you've alluded to, KMYC Radio, you made the statement that you cannot vote on flood control in District 10, which precludes a third of your district. And now you got Magnolia that you can't vote, and you're only voting for half of the district that we put you in place to vote for.
No, what I was talking about, why I couldn't vote was the county.
Because you hold insurance.
No, it's the county policy. So the policy's in place. It was voting on that policy, not the insurance.
You did not explain this to us when you ran for office. That's my point.
Okay.
It's really bad, and you're going to have to explain it, because there's a lot of us that have that really stuff right here.
Again, I'll explain. I don't know what else to explain. Yes, I am.
I would like you to explain it without double talking it. I really am an intelligent woman, and I love to listen to you.
Then the specific question you have, I'm lost. I don't.
How can you vote for the District 5 people? How can you talk on our behalf, for which we voted for you to do, if now you can't represent them because you have a conflict of your business insurance being sold to these people?
I do talk on their behalf. It was the policy that has already been established by the board. I wasn't part of that vote. And so anything else in District 10 that I'm aware of, I can vote on. I don't know of any other. Yes.
So I'm going to lead off into another question. Some friends of mine have been working on what will be called the Yuba County groundwater recharge, which some of that Colgate money will go back to those of us who are property owners here. We'll get approximately 10% back on the assessed value of the property if it qualifies, if it passes. In addition to that, the pumping of the groundwater and shipping it down south, we profit about $20 to $25 million a year here in the county, and $350,000 will be reallocated to that. Basically, the local water districts and agencies, so BVID, North Yuba, OPUD, Linda, Marysville, etc. How do you perceive you will back this, or will you vote against it, or how will you? What are your takes on this? Because it will be hitting the, we're working on the second legal draft right now. The first presentation on it was last night at the OPUD meeting, and I'm curious to see how you plan on pursuing this this thing coming up, because it's, you know, pretty beneficial to most of the community, and I'm just curious what your take on it was.
I wasn't there. I don't know what you're working on.
Oh, well, Shirley Matthews met with you to discuss an initiative, and basically that is what I'm discussing right now. It's called we're calling it the Yuba County Groundwater Recharge Act. So that's basically what we're working on. You'll hear more about it. I should have some information and be posting it on the Straight Out of Yuba episode 2 Facebook page tonight or tomorrow. So.
Randy, could we
Yes.
have the people that are asking questions in the audience here stand up and give their name?
Oh, well, I'm Zach Cross, fifth generation, been around here basically, I'm born and raised, relocated back up here to District 5 about 6 years ago from Marysville, and just kind of been politically active ever since. So we're also, myself and Kathy Thielen here are also sitting on the board of Keep Lomarico Local, which is a nonprofit started and paid for by the owners of the Legal and Organ House store. And we're also working to keep the Dollar General out of the foothills. So that's who I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy, this is a question that I know can't be answered, but poor Hal heard it for 20 years. What can we do about our roads? Our roads are in pathetic condition.
LaPorte Road,
Ask Hal.
tough road to drive when it's dirt, bad weather.
Yeah. What can be done?
Our gravel roads are pathetic.
We're gonna get a bullet train.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's gonna go to,
But all the money's going on. Another job for you.
There's just not enough money. That's the problem. It still is, and it's worse today than it was when Hal was there. They had about a $3 million budget. Last I'm told, we haven't had our new session yet, but as of a couple of days ago, it looks like there's going to be a number of employees laid off from Public Works. There's not enough money. The budget is less than half of what it was last year. All of that gets funneled through the state, and the state spins it back here, except they're not spinning back much, and as a result, that's what we run with. So how do you fix that problem?
Figure the bullet train.
That'd be the first.
well, I can tell you how to fix that problem right away. Stop spending $1 million on code enforcement for medical marijuana.
There you go. Exactly. Something you supported,
Not to mention millions of dollars.
but you told us you weren't going to support it.
That's right.
What's that?
You lied to
I might not
us.
get to that level at this point.
Urban politician. Had no comment on the groundwater. project either.
And the 40 lawsuits that followed it. That's right. And that's why this county is broke.
They do. Actually, each department writes their own grants.
This guy.
They can, if they find a, this last week, I met with the Sierra Nevada Conservancy, and they're one of a number of recipients for a considerable amount of money. So it depends on what issue you're looking for, whether it's water control, watershed, fire safety, all of those issues, there are grants available. The gal that I talked to is a resource to send different entities flyers to say, this is what's available. And if you qualify, write your grant, submit it, they get on a short list, then they get down to the fine line. This takes about 2 years, 3 years, depends. There's actually a bill, looks like it will hit later this year. It's a water bond of about $4.8 billion that's going to be, looks like it'll be on the ballot in November this year. And from that, Sierra Nevada Conservancy is looking at about $150 million of it. That was the reason for my meeting, was to talk about water, watersheds, and fire. And we need to apply. Yuba County hasn't applied for a grant through Sierra Nevada Conservancy in years, best I can tell, if ever. So these are the things you have to track. They send it out, but if you're not ready to get going, then you'll get left behind. And that's a big one. I don't know of any offhand for the roads. There are specialty grants. As an example, on Marysville Road, where the big S turn is, down by Fruitland, everybody knows where that's at. That is a problem curve. There's been a number of accidents. We applied for a grant. We were told that you were in the top, you made it through the first round, now you're into the second round, and to help straighten that out, they were going to spend, I don't know if it was $1 million, but it try to improve that scenario. Well, we just got word 2 weeks ago and we got thrown out. How long does it take to do all of this stuff? My God, it is a rolling, you apply, you wait, you get the first level. We had one more level to go through, but we got shot down. So, of course, I asked Mike Lee, just keep focused on it. Wherever you can see opportunities and dollars, let's see if we can accomplish something on that target. Let alone, now, if you got that money, that doesn't mean you can come out to the county and let's fix some potholes or pave. You can't do that. It's very specialized for certain areas. But they are out there, and you got to keep looking for them. Somebody had a hand up over here. There's one.
My name is Donna Corson. I live in Dobbins. You talked about staff at planning department is going to be laid off. Possibly, there's not enough money for that. Is that correct? Did I hear you say that?
Public Works?
Yes.
Public Works, not planning.
Okay. Then I would have to ask why Crystal Martin is a consultant for the Yuba County Water Agency and
She isn't.
she's not?
She isn't.
She claims to be, and that we're spending money for her to...
I can tell you she is not, and there was a letter that came out from Kurt Akins, the following territorial has it, that says, no, she isn't. She's not.
Okay.
My name's Myron Chapman. I live in Callan. As a former police officer, I'm sure that you're dismayed by the actions of the Yuba County Deputy Mark Heath. Given the severity of his alleged crimes, it's almost certainty that other officers were involved or at least were aware of his activity. Given these events, do you still have confidence in Sheriff Durford to lead the department?
I do.
You do.
Absolutely.
Correct.
You know, if you go back in history of all the departments, when I was on with Yuba City Police Department, we never had anyone of that magnitude. I remember one guy that did something he shouldn't have done, and he was reprimanded. Is it possible that the sheriff doesn't know what every deputy does every minute of the day?
No.
It is possible. You can't follow them all.
Only if you have
Baloney.
to say it.
Well, I would disagree, but it's just my opinion. You have your opinion, and that's okay. Having been there and worked in this environment, stuff can happen. Do others, did somebody else know? I can't tell you that. I can tell you that the Department of Justice has an investigation ongoing right now to take a look at what Net 5 is doing. If you also check the records throughout our area, pick an area, pick any area, you put law enforcement or anyone else under scrutiny, you'll find they make mistakes. Some are criminal, some are just errors. And those that are criminal, then you prosecute them. I'd like to tell you that every law enforcement in the nation never violates the crime, any crime. And I can't. And I suspect, you know what, it's just not realistic. They can violate the law. So all you can do is you investigate them and you prosecute as needed. But as far as I'm concerned, Steve Durford is a very straight shooter, understands what he's doing, has a very good department that doesn't preclude the fact that somebody can do something illegal. It's just a way of life. Yes?
My name is Sherry, and I live in Dublin. Speaking about the police department and the sheriff's department, there have been a lot of...
Can't hear.
There have been a lot of cases of excessive violence in Yuba County, where a police officer kills someone. Can they not be trained to shoot someone in the leg instead of... I mean,
opinion on it is, if you're in a violent situation and your opponent has a weapon, a deadly weapon of any sort, your job is to stop them, not to wound them, not to slow them down, it is to stop them. And that's what they're trained to do. You don't, do you shoot a weapon?
No.
When you take a handgun and try to hit something, first of all, in a closed, controlled environment, on the range, when you're of sound mind, I can hit a pattern probably 6 inches. Now I want to throw your adrenaline in high gear in the midst of a violent crime, and you want me to hit that same 6 inches. It's very difficult. My objective is to stop that problem, whatever it is. And if they have a weapon, that's what you do. If there is no weapon, different scenario. I don't know of what you're referring to of deputies killing people.
No, my gun.
Abroad. I don't know. That's a generic answer, but I'll refer that to the sheriff and the deputy. Yes?
Kathy Thielen, Brownsville. To go along with her question, because I am concerned. We had our sheriff's department, and I know a lot of our sheriff's deputies. I'm very appreciative of those. They killed a man by tasing him to death over at the UC Davis executive, or the UC Davis extension. Right before Christmas, they killed a man in a wheelchair. I find it, as she does, concerning. The gentleman in the wheelchair had a gun. We'll give him that. You had 18 police officers there, you had the SWAT team there, and you had a negotiator. The best that our county could do is to kill a man in a wheelchair. He definitely wasn't going to escape very fast in a wheelchair. They were serving a warrant. They didn't go there because they got a phone call. They went there to serve a warrant. We do have a problem, not with a lot of our law enforcement. These two gentlemen back here, no one of the two of them. I would just talk to him in a minute. We have a problem in Yuba County with shoot first, ask questions later. Mark Keith, yeah, we have a problem with Mark Keith, but that's a horse of a different color. We need to do something, and I believe that Durford is going to do the best he can do. But in the same respect, someone needs to step up and to get this under control so that citizens are not afraid of our law enforcement officers.
I would tell you that if you would like to have this meeting, and we have Steve Durford here, I'm more than pleased to have him come. You can bring that to his attention.
We would like to see you have more town hall meetings.
Great.
I mean, we need to be in good communication because obviously we're really off the tracks in terms of how each other feel. And we need to get more unified so that we can either support you or tell you where to go. Okay, and I mean, and I would rather do the first than the latter.
I agree.
Okay, and I would like you to do the same thing. But I think that what you need to do is you need to give all of the citizens of Yuba County, not just District 5, but you need to place a lot more faith in the citizens of Yuba County to do the right thing. And not just assume that the Board of Supervisors can do the right thing for them.
And I don't disagree with that at all.
Well, I mean, I'm going to point out one issue then. Started with the medical marijuana thing. Okay, you pushed through an urgency clause. You denied the voters the right to vote on the medical marijuana issue. Then the YPC sued. Now, John Bassett is dragging his feet and delaying, just a series of delays.
Where's the money?
Because you don't want the courts to tell you what to do.
I'll tell you where the money's at, right there.
You want to make these decisions. You want to make the decision on Magnolia Ranch. You want to make the decision on medical marijuana, but at the same time, in making these decisions, you're denying the citizens the ability to make the decision for you. And in my mind, if I were a politician, if somebody said, I'll help you, I want to make the decision for you, I would leap out of the way because I couldn't be wrong. I couldn't be wrong. It might not work out the way I want, but I couldn't be wrong by letting the vote go to the people. But I can't be wrong by restricting the vote and holding it back. So when you talk about making a decision on Magnolia Ranch, and then you talk about making a decision on medical marijuana, we're talking about being diametrically opposed on how you're going about these things. So can you explain it?
Yeah, your point is we need more meetings. Got it? Got it. We're on it.
Andy, I do believe that, Subo's Urban Council, I do believe that on the June ballot, there will be what you're discussing.
That's correct. There is an initiative on the June
There's
ballot.
going to be two initiatives.
But at the same time, the board felt that they had what they needed to know.
I didn't realize why.
But let me
Yeah,
finish.
but I don't think that you understand.
I do
All of
understand.
California, how many counties are doing this? They're passing these ordinances because on the November ballot is going to be the initiative for all of California to pass the law where you can sell marijuana all over the state. Is that correct or not correct?
No.
No.
It's absolutely
It's a little harder than that. Okay, but these counties are going around and they are doing
What's actually happening in the counties is that the sheriff, our sheriff, Steve Gervin, is running around to all the other counties and getting them to ban it. That's what's happening. Well, I mean, we can laugh at that, but that's the truth.
So you're not involved in any whatsoever, it's already going on.
Correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding on it is the counties have to make a decision before March 1st.
Wrong.
Not the state to make the decision for
They
them.
made the decision before the laws were enacted by our governor and the assembly actually to do that. They wanted to do a ban because it was revenge tactics, and in turn, the county broke the law
Okay,
in
I'm not talking
order
about
to
that. I'm
enact
talking
it.
about the county has to
Yes,
make a
but
plan
what I'm
or the
telling
state
you is,
will.
they did it,
No, it's not
they did it 8 months before the governor even passed through AB 266, 240,
March 1st is
three,
not the cutoff.
and the other one.
Okay.
And currently, there is legislation sitting on the table, that will extend the March 1st deadline,
Is it-
whether
is
it's
it
passed
true?
or
Because
not.
I keep reading March 1st.
It's
as long
not
as the state
wrong.
makes a decision.
Here's what's important. In my
Give
mind,
me your email.
what's important, and again, you don't always have to agree. We're down to the weeds here, and I don't want to get into the weeds.
The weeds that you're talking about are patients. The weeds that you're talking about are patients' lives. Whether you agree with medical marijuana or you don't, the voice of the state of California, Prop 215, says that there are medical marijuana patients.
Got it.
So we're not weeds.
Here's what's
It's insulting that you say it like that, too.
Tobacco weed?
Hold on, guys. Let's hear your response, Randy.
In this district, we'd like to have more meetings to discuss these issues here in Brownsville. Okay?
Or in Loma Rica.
Or Loma Rica, or wherever. And that's okay. We'll have those meetings.
Randy,
Yes.
So, Alton Wright, the Yuba side, county side of Forbes-Town. It's not about having more meetings, Randy. It's about what you do with them.
That's correct.
It's about what you act upon. That's what matters. It's not just about talking, it's about doing, sir. Do you understand that?
I think I do.
Yeah, good job.
I'm not sure everyone would agree with you. I mean, some of us up here in North Yuba Water District wonder, where have you been? You haven't been here to support many of the customers. We had to do all the hard work ourselves. Where were you? You're talking to the district
Never said one
manager,
meeting.
you're talking to
One meeting.
the board members and such, but you couldn't take any time out of your busy schedule and come to one meeting, just one meeting, and sit with the people and listen to your constituents. This gentleman over here said, you need to hear us, you need to hear us. You need to get out and hear us, you need to listen to us. So, what are your feelings about North Yuba Water District?
So, did we have a meeting here a couple weeks ago?
You and I did, but now we're in a larger venue.
Yes. Did we have communication?
We did, but we're in a larger venue.
I understand. Did we have a discussion? And
Oh, we sure had a discussion.
So,
We had a really nice discussion.
what did you come away with?
That, first of all, I will quote, you don't get involved in phrase like that. You don't read.
Nice,
You don't read.
You have to read the papers.
nice.
You don't want to get involved in a fray like this up here. So we're afraid to you. Your constituents are afraid of you. Is that not what you said to me, sir?
Did we talk about, they have a structure?
And the structure's broken.
But they have a board, they have.
The board is broken.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Corrupt. The board's broken, the water board is broken.
My name is Brian Dotsey. I'm a Dobbins resident since '96. What I've been involved in for the last 6 years is that I initiated a Seed Savers endeavor. And something came across my my email, and there's, I don't know if you people know this, you know, we're farmers up here, we're gardeners, organic, we're trying to survive up here, right? In 2014, AB 2470, which is called the California Seed Law, was amended, okay? And what was inserted by the usual suspects, Monsanto, Syngenta, Conag, Biotech, they inserted this one clause. Now listen to this. One of the provisions is slipped in, basically makes seed libraries, which we have 52 in California, and seed swaps. That's what I do every year for the last 6 years, collecting seeds from our gardeners, and we try and distribute them to get victory gardens going so that we can augment our beautiful Grange farmers market. Anyway, it says it makes seed swaps illegal. Now listen, specifically it says that if you share seeds with anyone that lives that more 3 miles away from you, you have to register your seeds, get them tested, and get a license to exchange them. Now, here's what I'm asking now. The marijuana ban. The county got that jurisdiction because of what happened in Southern California. You got the right by the court to act independently of the state and saying that if we want to ban something in our county with regards to this, we can. Now, here's what I'm asking. If I get a resolution and the people that are behind me get a resolution, you submit it to the Board of Supervisors, can you use that same jurisdiction to say to these banana people here that have passed this, that no, in Yuba County, if we want to have a seed swap, or we want to start a seed library, which I'm hoping to do, and we're getting more and more people behind it, will you stand behind that? Or is that just isolated? I'm asking you. What would you do?
That's it for him.
What you've asked me, I guess, is a technical question of how do I support something that I don't even know what I'm supporting. I don't know, I'd have to read it.
Okay, so all I'm saying, using the same, if it comes down to it, it becomes when, when we got to hit, when the rubber hits the road, can you use that same precedent that was set in the court for allowing counties throughout California to ban marijuana growing, can you use that same one to say, no, this is Bananasville, we don't want this up here? Why? Because it was just stated by people, the base of Yuba County is agriculture. It's nothing else, agriculture. This is agriculture. I'm just saying. Now, where would you stand on something like that?
Again, until you go into the technical side of it, which I'm not familiar with that.
Let's just put it, are you for or against
Where you
seed
been,
sales?
for Christ's sakes? Is he reading
Or
those
the
papers?
dozen
How's that?
Altered seeds
I'm
and
not
all.
opposed to seed sale, I'm not opposed to seed sale. I don't have enough information on seed sale
Okay.
to tell you.
If I send you information, would you look at it?
He
And if it's
doesn't read.
proper, you know, would you be able to bring it forward to the supervisors on our behalf, the people who want to save seeds and want to have gardens?
Well, you can only bring it to one, according to him.
Okay.
You can, yeah, you can only bring it to one, from me, it can go to county council.
That's
County
it.
council, actually, you can bring it to the board and say, here, this is what we'd like to put on an initiative or the agenda, you start with the
That's
agenda.
but I could bring it forward to the agenda to the general supervisors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. No, I'm gonna try.
Scott Barnum, Brownsville. Been here my whole life. One of the questions I have, Randy, is I moved up here on Frenchtown Road just a few years ago. Lived in Dobbins. You were talking about the flood regulations for District 10, the money allotment that they're getting for grants to work on the flood zoning in that area. When I bought my house, I went through the whole flood thing. I'm at 2,500 foot elevation in Brownsville, and here I'm fighting, they did too, over being in a flood zone. I had to fight with FEMA and explain to them, because this is what big government does, and by listening to everybody in here, they don't like big government. Because most of you people probably support the Jefferson state, right?
Yeah.
So that's less government, lower taxes, right? Personal freedoms.
Right.
That's why I voted for you, Randy, okay? I want you to push those values on the community. I don't want more government bounding like seed regulation. What the hell? I mean, you want to grow a tomato plant and you're regulated by the state because you can't give your neighbor a seed that's 5 miles down the road? I mean, that's common sense crap, But anyway, on the money part of the District 10 allotment for this grant money, what I see is there's never been, when I talked to FEMA, they said that there was no studies done in Yuba County on the drainages where these flood insurances are required. And they wanted me to pay for that. $10,000, right? Minimum.
What?
Yeah.
They actually told us the FEMA map was wrong.
Yeah.
But they wanted us to pay flood insurance on our house anyway for 30 years. I paid $5,000 for an engineer.
Right.
The base of my
This is
house
what's going on.
is 5
Crazy.
feet over the top of the
Floodplain.
post office.
Yeah.
The post office, they drew the line right around it.
They didn't have to.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
But they sent me a map. They sent me a map showing, the bank actually sent me a map saying that I was in the floodplain. No elevation shots, no topo map, nothing, right? So I call them up and I go, what are you sending me here? What's the point? I had Kroll factual data do a study before I bought the property showing that there was no flood insurance required when I bought it, right? Should have been grandfathered in. I buy the property, they sell my loan to somebody else, then all of a sudden I'm in a floodplain again, right? Because this company doesn't take the data from the last bank, right? So now I'm in a fight with FEMA to get flood insurance taken off my property because they want another $400 a month. And that's what I'm wondering, is the money down there going to be done on studies? When I talked to FEMA, they said there's no study showing that we're not in a floodplain and that each individual that gets required to have flood insurance on their property in the foothills has to pay for that themselves.
Yeah.
And basically stuck with the cost of that. So is that money going to those studies up here to help people that live up here?
Amen.
You know, what I would tell you, I'm pretty familiar with the flood issues, the flood maps, and FEMA's programs. I would rather look at yours specifically to find out, who did you talk to, both of you? I'm not aware you were in it, I knew you were in it. But it's something that I'd have to dig into FEMA. I went to a meeting, a day-long meeting in Sacramento with FEMA management. The director came out to talk about flood insurance. There is a huge disconnect between your issue and their programs. And I came in the middle to say, I got some issues for you. But it was talking to somebody that they didn't get it. They're separated completely. So, I guess what, again, I'm telling you is, I have to work specifically on yours. I'm available to do that. Be glad to do that.
But as county funds the county funds that you guys are filing for these grants, are you getting grants to do the studies in District 10?
No. Actually,
no grants?
There aren't any. There is, we are looking for money. The Yuba County Water Agency has spent the last 2 years that I'm aware of trying to get money for Marysville to fix their levee. Their levee is probably about a $50 million fix. Started out as a couple of million, went to 10 million, top of 50. But I know Kurt Evans has gone back a number of times to DC to look for funds, and they're either 80-20, 50-50, not sure how it'll all work out. There is some money available, and he's been working very diligently in trying to get Marysville some dollars. But that was the charge of the Yuba County Water Agency when it was established in 1959. The two primary things that they were supposed to focus on is flood and agriculture. That was their charge. So anything beyond that is kind of an issue.
So the other point of that, since they're in control of the water, they're selling the water, they're making the money off the water, why are they not responsible for doing the drainage studies? So I don't have to pay for being next to their water and put me in a conflict with FEMA, right? So should I go after Yuba County, file a lawsuit and say, hey, I want my money back that I had to spend because you guys aren't spending your money in the correct location and you're causing all these people in the foothills to have to pay for your, basically you're calling it your water, right? You don't want us to gold mine in it, you don't want us to fish in it, you don't want us to do anything in it, but you don't want to pay for it.
Yeah,
See?
and that's not the case at all. Again, they're mandated. Over the last 50 years, the water agency has essentially $0. PG&E has done all of that. We've been, over the last year, trying to work with environmentalists in the river and different groups, trying to put some kind of plan together that makes sense out of this whole water issue. The state's involved, the feds are involved, FERC licensing involved. I'm telling you, it is so complicated, it's huge.
Well, it's complicated because we got big government involved, right?
You do.
Yeah.
To take care of some personal needs, I see a lot of people walking to the restroom. Maybe we can just take a 10-minute break for restroom break. There's coffee, there's cookies over here, there's water.
When I studied my real estate license, they even all the laws that said that we sell our house, the next person